more seats up there. I tend to go fast, so I really practice on speaking slowly. So you guys can give me some feedback on that. Very good. Who is just an off topic because Honda dealer? Honda dealers and Nissan dealers have Apple CarPlay in their cars. How often do dealers go up and check their listings on Apple Maps? This is off topic, isn't it? We talked a little bit about this. Is that right? Yeah. When you look at the 4 big directories you want to keep on track, we're talking about Google today, Google Maps and Google Search. Bing, of course. You can set Bing to just mirror Google, so that's the easy way. Just go check your Bing profile. And then Apple Maps, and most people that have an iPhone, I have an iPhone that I immediately put my Google Maps on the iPhone. I just like that interface better. But plenty of other people don't. They use Apple Maps. And if your Apple Maps is not accurate, or maybe you went through a buy sell and it's got the little name on it or whatever it is, it's a good time to just go up and check those directories. Apple Maps is simple, more simple, and you don't have department listings, you just have one main listing. I read this morning, I don't know if I passed that article on to you or not, but I guess they've just done a bunch of enhancements to the Apple Maps interface. So it's relatively straightforward. You just go in there and kind of answer the questions. There's a free tool if you go to Moz.com. Moz is a big SEO company, and you click on free SEO tools. They'll run a free citation check for you guys. You just put your dealership in there, and they'll show you what your citation looks like. And when I say citation, I just mean name, address, phone number, and website address. Right? If those are consistent across the internet, search engines reward you. So it's a light amount of work, not a lot of work. 2 or 3 times a year, go up and check your citations. Use that free tool on Moz.com. And then if you see a problem that's easy to go fix, they give you links to go up there and fix those things. But I've been reading more and more about citations being important. Making sure that your name, your address, your phone number, your website address are consistently described across the internet. And a small little filler topic. A couple seats up front here. Bench seating on the stage. Are we recording? Should I? Am I good?
They're recording. The show don't start until the top of the hour. So if you run this here.
No. Okay.
That generally is the beginning of the recording session. Okay. So you start that.
Should I start it now?
Yes.
Here we go.
Welcome to Dallas and NADA Show 2023. NADA Show is excited to be in Dallas. A new city offers us new ideas and new opportunities. And we thank all of you for being with us today. Join us tonight for a taste of Texas at our welcome reception. NADA's roundup at country music mecca Gillies. Don your jeans and cowboy boots for a fun and festive evening of music, dancing, bull riding, blackjack, and so much more. We will cap off the night with a live performance by Grammy Award-winning country music star Brad Paisley. But first, enjoy your workshop. Don't forget to use the NADA Show mobile app to take notes and access workshop handouts and PowerPoints even after you leave. Use the app to tell NADA what you think. Log in after the workshop to complete an evaluation. Claim your CE credits. Look for an email after the show to claim your credits and print your certificate. Please silence all mobile devices. No photographs or video recordings are allowed. Get ready to make a big splash at NADA Show 2023, your workshop. Begin.
Well, welcome. Thank you for choosing my workshop. Good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about how to use Google Business Profile to drive growth in your fixed operations. My name is George Nenni. Thank you, as I said, for being here. Thanks to my sister Suzanne, who works with me at Generations Digital. Thanks for joining me in this session. What is Generations Digital? So we do customized Google Analytics and Google My Business, Google Business Profile reporting for dealers. We also do consulting Around that, I've got 3 books up on Amazon. I got something to give away here. Primarily today, we're talking about Google Business Profile, so I'll probably reference that. I'm not trying to pitch books, but if you just go to Amazon and just search for my name, they'll show right up. So there you go. Your competitors would not be happy if they knew the information you were getting ready to receive in this session. Because if your competitors don't take this advice and you take the advice that we show, you will outrank them consistently. And for fixed ops searches, we're very data driven in terms of what we're going to share with you today, and we really try to let that data drive our decision making. Quick disclaimer here from NADA. Y'all can review. I believe everybody also gets a copy of the slide deck, and so you'll receive all that content. Let's jump right in. So whenever anybody buys anything or buys anything online, it usually starts with search. Right? If you're going to buy something, you want to do some research, you want to find out where it's available. So it begins with search. I do a ton of online buying. I do a ton of searching. Typically that's Amazon, YouTube, Walmart.com. Predominantly it's Google, right? Google.com. When we go online to search, if we're searching for a product or a solution, we go onto Google. And the last 6 years, you probably noticed, Google search has changed dramatically. Today, whenever we're searching for a business, a product, a service, in Google, what tends to pop up? Anybody? Google Business Profiles, right? Either one or multiple Google Business Profiles. When it's multiple, it's called the map pack. The map pack. And for dealers or other businesses, they want to win that map pack. But you're not trying to win the map pack for your brand name. In fact, it would probably never show the map pack for your brand name. If you search for Jake Sweeney Chevrolet, it's going to pull up Jake Sweeney Chevrolet and no other business. It might pull up their service department, but it's going to pull up one business. But when you search for multiple, it's going to show you this map pack. And winning is key. And I'm going to. Oops, thank you, Siri. I'm going to dial this in because I got lost there.
Turn the lights down.
Okay. Can we douse the lights up here? Because there's a lot of screenshots. It's far sharper now. So Delhi near Garland, Texas. And these searches, you guys should do on your smartphones as well. Do these along with me. And when you get back to your market, do these searches often. But don't just search for your name, right? Winning on Google My Business, Google Business Profile, same thing. Winning is not winning on your brand name. Google takes care of that. Winning on Google Business Profile is winning on non-branded category search. If you remember nothing else from today's presentation, remember that. Winning on Google My Business is winning on non-branded category search, and specifically around fixed ops. What we're going to talk about today is searches like brake repair near me, oil change near me, tires near me, all those non-branded category searches that the big box retailers and the small independents today are probably winning. They are winning. We do these searches all over the country. They may not even know that they're winning. The big boxes for sure do because they're being more sophisticated with their approach. But this is really SEO today, right? Local SEO has become Google Business Profiles. If 100% of the time I search locally on Google, these profiles pull up, well then that is SEO. And how many people paying for SEO on a monthly basis? Probably a lot of dealers. If those providers are not going to you constantly and talking about your Google Business Profile, hey, you got to get your categories all set up. Hey, you haven't replied to some reviews, and your reviews were lower than last month's, and we got to work on that because the number of reviews in our star ranking is going to be how they sort out our SEO. If they're not having those conversations, then you're not getting your money's worth, right? I mean, I'd be fine if an SEO company was only providing Google Business Profile consulting along with some other things, right? The good news is the work is easy and you guys can do it yourself. You just need to know how, and most of it's very straightforward. So, big box retailers, they have a unique challenge, and I would argue it's similar to dealership challenges. They have multiple profit centers. They have dollars coming from different parts of that department store, and they cannot rely on a single Google Business Profile to be able to show up for all the key non-branded category search that may be out there, right? So here's an example. Walmart Supercenter, Kroger, it's the same way for Home Depot, it's the same way for Lowe's. They have a dozen or more Google Business Profiles for every profit center at those locations. The reason has to do with categories. You may know what categories are in Google Business Profile. If you've gone into Google Business Profile, you've definitely seen categories. They are one of the #1 ranking signals. And if you get those wrong, you're lost. And if you get them right, you're on your way to having success. There's one primary category, there's 9 secondary categories. Primary is way more important than any of the secondaries, right? Whatever you set your primary at is what Google is really going to build your profile from. Okay? And that job is owned by all of us, right? If you as business owners, you own that assignment to educate Google on what each of those profiles does. And if you build a service profile and you say, hey, George, what's going on now? When I search my dealership, my service profile is pulling up instead of my sales. That education process is not done, right? We have to be able to feed data to those profiles to make sure it delineates. And very similar to how the big box retailers are going to do it. So let's look at an example here. Photo Center, Mesquite, Texas. Okay. So we can see Prestige Portraits pulls up there, the photo space. These are probably a couple local photo shops that are really good, and they worked really hard. They probably only have one category. Photo Center or Photoshop. And there's Walmart sneaking in there with their Photo Center, right? Now, they're not doing a very good job. What's that, 3.8 stars? And they're not ranking really well, but they showed up. Right? They're showing up in search. So for Walmart, this is local SEO. And they don't want to just win on Photo Center near Mesquite, Texas. They want to win pharmacy near me, bakery near me, deli near me, ATM near me. The Green Coin Machine has its own Google Business Profile, right? Why? Because they want to make sure they show up for those searches, for all those fragmented searches, right? And you may say, wait a minute, George, I've heard consultants say that's crazy talk. We need to have one Google Business Profile for our entire dealership, because otherwise it's going to dilute our reviews, or reviews will be going all different places. If your competitor takes that approach, takes a single Google Business Profile approach, say a prayer of thanks, right? They will not show up for categories other than car dealer, Jeep dealer, those sort of things, right? And we'll have specific examples when we show you. We'll show you why. But this happens in every market across the country. Almost every market across the country, if you search for those generic terms that the big box retailers have, they show up and they're winning. In addition, I'll just say this. Anybody running Performance Max, PMax ads, right? All the agencies are all gaga about PMax ads, right? It's the brand new offering, and we gotta go to PMax, because that's what Google's pointing us to. PMax ads are the only time you can run an ad on Google Business Profiles directly. And if you're spending money on PMax, that should really be where your head is. If you have multiple Google Business Profile departments, you can run individual PMax ads for your body shop versus sales, CPO versus service, right? So it really allows you to separate your advertising on one of the potentially coolest new ad products from Google in a while. And I may have some examples of that, but that's just a quick departure. Here's another one, Auto Center, Mesquite, Texas, right? So Walmart's got auto care centers. And for each of these listings, you may not be able to see it. So for their Walmart Auto Care Center, their primary is auto repair. For their baby and nursery, their primary category is baby and nursery products, whatever. Deli, garden center, home services, money center, tech services, whatever that means. They've optimized each of those so they make sure they show up when appropriate. So now you know what I'm going to talk about. Right? So that is our topic for today. And I want to convey to you the opportunity that exists for fixed ops in automotive. And I'm trying to make the case with showing you how the big box retailers are doing it, how they're showing up, and how they're winning. And if you're unsure, just do those searches yourself. And just, the more searches you do in Google Search and Google Maps, and decide when these profiles show up, the more you do those, the more you'll learn about how you can influence it. So we'll talk about that opportunity. We will show you how the Google algorithm works. It's relatively straightforward, but understanding that and conveying that to your sales teams and your service teams can help them get on board to the work that's required. And then we'll show you specific steps: driving content, driving reviews, setting your categories correctly to begin having success. All right. So we said before that when you want to buy something online, it starts with search, and automotive is no different. We're not using the yellow pages anymore to find electricians and plumbers and tire repair and brake repair, right? We're using Google Search. And we're okay, so we don't need to exit the building. That would be my problem. I need more time. I'm from Cincinnati. It'd be like the Bengals, right? It'd be like the Bengals getting some kind of raw deal on like home field playoff. Who did? All right. So, this is the same situation, right? So consumers begin with search when they're looking for automotive segments. Jeep brake repair near Garland, Texas is our example up here. You can see that is the service side of Dallas Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. That's the service side of that business. And again, if you do these searches yourself, you'll see the winners are the big box retailers or the small independents who are doing a good job, just don't know that they're ranking that well. Right? So we got a Stellantis dealer up there, so let's use that as an example. Any Stellantis dealers here? All right, so here's the exercise. We've got one primary business category and we've got 9 secondary categories. That's what George said a second ago. Okay, so let's say that we've got a Stellantis dealer and they're like, I don't believe what George is saying. Let's just have one profile and just go. It just simplifies our life. Your primary category would be Jeep dealer. Your first secondary would be Ram dealer, Dodge dealer, Chrysler dealer, car dealer, used car dealer. I'm at 6. I got 3 left. Might want to do truck dealer and used truck dealer, maybe leasing. I got 1 category left for body shop and service and parts. And there's no way I'm going to rank for that last category. That last little measly secondary category, Google's never going to see that as being relevant and important. In our book, in the appendix, there's 33 fixed ops categories to choose from. Right? So you need more than a couple slots, right? You need all 10 slots. You need your primary to be parts. You need your primary to be collision center. Your primary category to be auto repair, so that you can then optimize around that. Right? And keep in mind, once you choose that category, Google will then begin suggesting other services to you. So this is, I don't have slides for this, but as you get in, you start building out your profile, there's something called services. And based on the categories you choose, Google will suggest services. So you choose auto repair, and Google says, well, it looks like maybe tire rotation, or maybe rotor repair, or maybe they'll come up with more granular services that you can then add to that. Or maybe they go and grab some keywords and say, these are relevant, right? So Google tries to put together those pieces to get a good idea of, here's what business this is in. Let's serve this profile when they search for this profile when they search to that, and so on. Right? And so that is the mission. And that's the opportunity, right? Again, do these searches yourself. See if you're being conquested by local providers. See if your competitor has built out a service profile, and see how you're ranking. All right, Google search algorithm, relatively simple. There's 3 pieces. Proximity. Is the business close to the person that's searching? Prominence, all about who has the highest star rating and who has the most reviews. And then relevance, does the business sell what the searcher is looking for? And the good news is, you only really have to worry about 2. Because you can't spoof your location. You can't pick up your dealership and move for the weekend because you want to conquest a county north of you, right? So proximity is where it is, right? So that makes it easy. I just got to focus on prominence and relevance. Let's dive into those. So prominence is all about Google reviews. It's a combination of primarily who has the highest star rating combined with who has the most number of reviews. All things being equal, that's the way Google will sort it. And if that doesn't light a fire for dealers in terms of the importance of reviews, if your service department's sitting at 4 stars, and you do those non-branded category searches George mentions, like tire repair near me or brake service near me, and the winners are 4.6 and 4.8, you're never going to show up, right? So now suddenly SEO is dependent on you getting to 4.5 stars or 4.6 stars. There's no more important assignment going, right? You can pay an SEO company all you want, and they can't change that sorting. They can't make your 4 stars a 4.6, and you are not going to show. Right? So you gotta obsess on that. You gotta obsess on reviews. And we'll talk about how to gather reviews and different strategies there. But I think also conveying this to the sales team and to the service writers and the service manager and say, look, we want more business, and we know that organic search from Google is going to be a key to getting that business. We've got to rank. And one of the key ranking signals is star ratings. And so we got to get busy now, right? And if you have 2,000 reviews and you're sitting at 4 stars, you have a lot of work. You need 2,000 more 5 stars just to get to 4 or 5, right? That's just the way that math works. If you have a low number of reviews and your star rating is pretty low, you're not the end of the world. You can add enough 5-star reviews to influence that. So be careful. We don't want to add to the heap. We don't want to add, if we're at 2,000 reviews and we have a 4-star rating, we cannot live with anything other than a 4.8 or a 5-star review. We can't live with it, right? Because it adds to the problem. Right? It adds to that 2,000 with a low star review. So we've got to obsess on that. And relevance, we'll talk about this for a little while. This is where the assignment is to educate Google what business you're in. And as I said, it starts with categories, 1 primary and 9 secondary. You know, for the sales side, you may not use all those categories because there's only so many sales categories, but for fixed ops, you definitely will. And you never want to overlap categories. You don't want auto repair in your fixed ops and in your sales. That causes Google confusion, and they'll pull up the wrong profile, right? It's not like you're going to gain more share. You really want to make sure your proper profile shows up when it should. There's also an element there around keywords and reviews. We'll talk about that, right? So it's not just about setting the categories. It's also about driving reviews that have keywords in those. We'll show some examples of those and why those are important. And again, you know, if we're talking about fixed ops, it's impossible to combine those all in one. Let's look at some of the keywords that we're seeing pulling out here. We'll talk about what these are. These are called justifications. And Suzanne and I call them gifts, free gifts from Google, where Google gives us clues in terms of why one business ranked above another. Okay? And you can see these appear. And we study these, right? Because when you get outranked on Google search, you need to find out why. That's the beauty. We love internet marketing because it's very transparent. If someone's beating you in some way, you can figure out exactly why, right? You can look at their content, you can look at their ranking, you can look at what they've done, and it's all fairly relevant. Right? There's not a lot of secrets and places to hide online. These justifications show up in Google Maps more than they do Google search. What's that mean? What's he talking about? Okay, so if I just go to google.com and the big Google logo shows up there, that's Google search. If I search for brake repair, Cincinnati, Ohio, you know, it's going to give me the map pack and show me that information. I'm still in Google search. Okay? These profiles live in 2 places. They live in google.com. The URL is actually /search/something else, right? But also google.com/maps/something else. Okay? No big deal. Just go to the top of the search screen and click Maps and go into your Maps view. It's all the same data, but Google gives way more clues in Maps. And we love these clues because they'll show us, right? So we search for best brake repair near Arlington, Texas. Now, when you search for the word best, a number of things happen. One, Google automatically filters 4 and above. You don't ask for it, that's a default. So if you're 3.8 in your service department and someone searches for best brake repair, you never show it because they prevent it. You got to be 4 stars. So I think most dealers are above 4 stars for a lot of those departments. When you put best in there, it also tends to show the highest reviews higher. Even more importantly, it tends to show reviews with the word best in there or any other synonym to best. Okay? They are the best in auto repair and know how to treat customers well. You will not find a better repair shop. Brake service was completed what he said it would be. And then here's one down here. Their website mentions brake repair, right? Those are all clues to me. Okay, so I got to focus on content on my website. We'll talk about that. I got to get reviews with keywords wherever I can. Right? Those clearly Google will spy to that content, and then they'll rank those businesses based on that content and the reviews. And that's powerful, right? I want to talk about things today that you guys can influence yourself. Right? In the past, SEO has always been this black box thing that I had to hire a company, and they were going to do all the metadata, and they were going to throw acronyms at me until I was confused. I'm like, screw it. I just want to pay my money, and then, you know, I got SEO. Well, with Google Business Profile, we can do the works ourselves, right? We can do those settings, and we can check those ranks, right? So for me, it really demystifies SEO for dealers. It allows them to really see, you know, what's going on. All right, more on justification. So there's 2 justifications we'll talk about today. And they're called justifications because they're really kind of trying to justify to the searcher, hey, here's why we rank these. You know, here's why this one might be relevant. And the first type is a review justification, right? That's where they pull keywords out of reviews that seem to match what the person's searching for. Now, we can't write reviews for our customers, right? But we may ask someone for a 5-star review, and they may come back and say, George, I don't remember a review. What am I supposed to say? Well, what most people have said is that the most useful reviews talk about the product you bought. So if you sold a car, just what's the make model? Your make model of the car you bought. And then who'd you deal with? You know? Did you deal with Kevin? Did he really treat you well? Include that. He'd love to see that. Right? If you came in for service, what's the year, make, model of the car you got? Brought in for service. And then what'd you get? Brakes, tires, you know, much detail as you can. You know, and if it's a really good friend, then just say, include the word best if you can. You can't really write reviews for it, right? But you know, I don't know, we sell our brother-in-law a car and he's hunting for words, maybe we can influence that. But nonetheless, Jeep Cherokee tires, Grapevine, Texas. Here's a review. These guys helped me air my tires back up to the proper pressure. Oil change, tire rotation, state inspection, all done in less than fill in the blanks, right? These people probably had no idea when they left these reviews they were actually helping this dealer rank for George's presentation, Jeep Cherokee tires, Grapevine, Texas, right? And I like doing those OEM. Those OEM tests will also give you different data points. So search for tire service near me or brake repair near me, and don't get your hopes up. If you rank well there, then well done. But now when we put the OEM, Ford brakes near me or Mustang brakes, those sort of things, your OEM store should be ranking there. But you want to play with those. Obviously, the non-OEM generic we would love even more. Our best operators, people that have been at this for a couple of years and are 4.8 with their service Google profiles for a Stellantis store and a Ford store, their top queries they show for are oil change near me, brake repair near me, alignment, all these non-OEM, non-dealer branded search terms. So that is definitely winning. All right, website justifications. And there's more justifications than just reviews and website. The website's an important one because it reinforces a major concept. So a website justification, so this is Ford EcoSport Tune-Up, Dallas, Texas. Their website mentions Ford EcoSport in Dallas, Mac Hike Ford, right? So a small mention there, that's not earth-shattering, but it proves the point. When you set up a Google business profile and you link your website to that profile, Google goes and spiders that website and looks for things that match back to your categories. You get back to that category, right? If you set your categories wrong, you're lost. But once you get those set correctly, Google goes and spiders and looks for keywords that match those, then they'll come back in your back end of Google Business Profile. When you're in there editing, you'll see in services, you'll see them suggest services based on them spidering your website, right? That's really compelling. Your sales page should link to your home page on your Google Business Profile, but your service Google Business Profile should link to the service page. Your body shop should link to the body shop page. I hate to pick on Stellantis again, but if you're a Stellantis dealer, your service page is pretty thin. Like those Mopar, I bet you there's less than 100 words on the entire page. So those got to go right away. Right? You got to engage your. If you're paying for SEO, you shouldn't have that problem, right? They should be building customized service landing pages for you, full of keywords, so that when Google sees that page and they see our categories, they're like, God, we got all kinds of work to do here. We see all kinds of relevant keywords on your landing page that match, right? And that's winning, right? So that's an easy thing to do. You don't even have to have SEO, right? Just look at your service page and just rewrite it. You can keep all the pictures and all that. Just look at those text blocks and just rewrite them, right? We want to make sure it's not duplicate content that's cookie cutter, for every automotive site out there. So we want to inject some local feel, some geotags, maybe we do have a content writer who put that together, but make it unique. Body shop, same way. We talked a lot about examples here in service. Not every dealer has body shop, but of all the concepts that I roll out here, body shop is the easiest to win on quickly because there's not very many big box retailers and the small mom and pops aren't paying attention. So when a franchise dealer just does some of these steps and gets optimized, you should be local pack. You should be in the top rankings for body shop. We don't talk about the specific content requirements, but Suzanne and I see these all the time. If you create a new body shop listing or a new service listing, it will be ghosted until you get two things: 20 reviews and 20 owner photos. Of course, you got to set all your categories, all that stuff we talked about. But even after you set all your categories, if this thing's sitting with no reviews, no photo, Google ignores it, right? And people will call me, hey George, I set this up, but I can't find it. I can't locate my profile, right? So once you get that content, it kind of hits that tipping point. And we have like an API through Google, so we report that through Data Studio, and you can see those new listings just ramp up. As soon as you start adding that content, searches, views, actions, website clicks, click to call for your Google Business Profile, all start to jump up. Here's some examples, just more examples of OEM. You're putting OEM terms in there: Jeep Wrangler, brake repair. You might be able to find some additional keywords in there. All right, driving reviews. So when we talked about relevance, when we talked about prominence, we talked about the prominence is all about who has the most number of reviews and the highest star rating. Okay? It's really more about the rating than the numbers, right? You got to have if you're 4.8 and you have 200 and someone else is 4.8, They've got 500 that can outrank you. If they're 4.7, sometimes they might outrank you with more reviews, and so it kind of plays those games, but in general, it's a combination of those. And we like using these third parties, right? Because they help you with just basic blocking and tackling. Reputation, podium, OEM sponsored. They will send surveys to every transaction you have, and they will drive people up to send to leave Google reviews. If you lead people to their own, unless you're an incredible, perfect operator, if you lead people to their own, they'll tend to send negative reviews. Because people that are angry and want their pound of flesh, people that are happy just drive on like, I love those guys, but I'm not compelled to do anything. Right? So you got to find those happy customers, and you got to put text in front of them or QR code in front of them, and drive them there and say, would you mind leaving me a 5-star review and mention my name in it? Right? After you've cleared everything else, have we taken care of everything for you? Have we cleared all the issues? Anything else? We love you, man. We're in here every 3-month service. We love you guys. Perfect. Close for the 5-star review. And we don't ask for 4-star reviews, right? Why? They're terrible. I'd rather not have a 4-star review. Consumers don't know that. I read one the other day. These guys are the best. Perfect. Love it. Forward. Right? And you want to reach out to a customer like that, I think, and say, like, where did we let you down? We'd love to get a 5-star review. Well, I don't give out many 5s. Well, our goal is to, in our market, is to be a 4.6. I don't know. Somewhat, depending on your comfort level, having that conversation, a 4-star review requires us to go get a bunch more 5-star reviews just to offset that. Right? I mean, the best operators are 4.6, 4.8 across the country in various segments. It's just the numbers that I see, right? And it depends on your market. Whatever your market is, whatever you need to hit, that's the goal, right? That's aiming for poker in your market, for that profile. Of these two, we like Podium better for one reason. They offer an ability to be able to fork the reviews, so all the closed ROs go to my service Google Business Profile, all the sales and lease transactions go to my sales. That's a big deal. And they only charge $100 for it. They probably should charge more, but get with your Podium rep and ask if you use Podium and get that $100 additional. I think they'll only do one extra department, but then you can have all your closed ROs go to your service department. And we have a few dealers doing that, and you'll get just with that process, you'll get 20 to 25 sales and service each month. You may get more service. I mean, obviously we do 3 to 4 times the ROs than we do cars we sell, but that'll get it done. But you can't lean on solutions like this all by themselves. As I said, if you do, you'll tend to maybe get more negative reviews. You have to engage happy customers and solicit 5-star reviews through one-on-one engagement. And so, how do we do that? How do we put that into action? Yes.
If there's a 4-star review and you reach out to a customer, can they go in and change it to a 5?
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
So good question. Yeah, if they leave you a 4-star, yes, we can contact them back and they can change that to a 5-star. They can change comments, those kind of things as well. We didn't really talk about the idea of responding to reviews. You got to respond to every negative review, or else what? It's the truth, right? The consumer reads that and there's no response. Must be the truth. The consumer comes back, gives a reasonable response. We're so sorry. We hate letting you down. Here's my phone number. Contact me. I'm the general manager. We'll solve your problem. Then the next person who reads that says, that sounds like a pretty reasonable dealership. Maybe this person's just a chronic complainer. This review person. Right? We all know those, right? And so by doing that, I think when you respond to a review, you're not responding to the whiny review. You're responding so that everybody else who reads that says, this is a reasonable dealer who responded, and it all makes sense. Makes sense. Yes?
Oh, I kind of have a question. So you talked about customers using keywords when they leave a review, but can you speak to whether or not it helps when we use keywords in responding to the reviews?
Great question. And this is a really common one. So keywords in reviews get indexed, but do responses to keywords, do responses to reviews get indexed? They don't. I wish they did. It used to be, 2 years ago, we used to see those justifications for Q&A, questions and answers. You've probably seen that on Google Business Profile. And sometimes they used to index those, but that was so easy to game that I think they undid that. So questions and answers, we don't cover that today. We have a lot of thoughts on that function in GDP. They can help you, but only the reviews themselves are indexed. All right, so how to ask for a one-on-one review? We go to our Google Business Profile backend. Now, if you guys use this, if you use Google Business Profile on a regular basis, you know that that's an old screen. It just recently changed. That screen still exists, if you go to business.google.com. Okay? Business.google.com is kind of the admin, especially if you're a big dealer group where you have multiple stores or multiple profiles. That's still where you want to go and bookmark that to manage all your profiles. And that's kind of the look and feel there. But today, they moved all the functionality like your reporting, editing services, editing category. They moved that all to the front end of Google search, the search engine results page. You've probably seen it. What a pain. It's terrible. It takes way longer. Oh well, the cheese got moved. That's where it is these days, right? And so some of the names changed, but I think it still says something like ask for review. I think it says ask for reviews. Just click on that button. It's all the same. There's really not a lot of change. See this Insights here? Insights is reporting from Google Business Profile. That's now called performance. You probably would have figured that out on your own anyway, right? Just kind of hunt around. You can't hurt anything as you go through there. You're just really kind of looking for information to complete. So if we click that link right there, we will get a URL. It'll be an ugly URL, meaning it's just got a bunch of characters and capital letters and all, So you may want to put that into Bitly or something to get that a little prettier. Or maybe you want to create a QR code, right? We'll talk about that in a second. But that review form will give you that unique URL. And it's fantastic because it's not just a link to your Google Business Profile. It's a link to your Google Business Profile, and it pops stars right into their face. So literally, when they click on that, give me a review. It couldn't be easier, right? So it's just got a good batting average for that. And text is better than email. With email review requests, they get ignored more than text. And when people just got their service, they're just picking their car up, that's the perfect time. That's the climax of excitement around their tires or whatever they got done. And so getting that review then. What's that, I'm sorry?
Where is that?
This share review form is basically on the front page of your Google Business Profile. So it'll only let you edit it if you're logged in. So in order to edit Google Business Profiles, we have to log in our Google account. And this is a common question. How to find this stuff. In the upper right-hand corner, when you're logged into Google, it will show you like an icon. And so you got to make sure you're logged in the right account. If I'm logged into the wrong Google account, I'm like, oh my gosh, I lost all my profiles. No, you're just logged in the wrong account. If you log in the correct account and you pull up your store, I wish I had a screen for you to show you, but it just it'll show you there. And it's got a bunch of buttons right above it, and you can edit those all directly in the search results.
George, how long ago did they switch it? Because I remember I logged in about a week ago. I'm like, what has happened to my page?
Yeah. 6 weeks? Oh, sorry. Thank you, Suzanne. The question was, how long ago did they make this admin change? I think 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago. For a while, they were offering both options. You could go to the Google business.google.com, or you could go to the front end of search, and then they cut it off and they said, no, it only exists in the front end of search. So really, I mean, if you want to make life simple, go to business.google.com, find your listing, click on it, and it takes you right to where you need to go.
Thank you.
So we will grab that link, and keep in mind, we're going to have, if we have sales, service, body shop parts, we're going to have 4 different links, right? We ask 5-star reviews from the service department customers, and we send them that link to leave a review on our service page, sales, body shop. Okay, I can about saying. Yeah, so you copy that and then text it, and then of course for the advanced, you could go and you could create a QR code, and you could put that on business cards, and you could hand that to a happy customer. Some people have said they'll put that on a mirror hang tag for service. They hang it, I don't know. I'm selfish, like I just want 5-star reviews, so I get nervous about putting barcodes in front of everybody, including the super irritated person who's been there 3 hours and screaming in our service department. Like, run and go grab that tag out of a mirror, so we don't end up with a 1-star review. But I mean, that's called review gating. I don't think you're really allowed to do review gating online, but at your store, of course you are. We don't ask super irritated, kicking and screaming people for reviews as they're leaving our deals. We never would, right? Tell a friend, recommend this. We never would, right? Even before reviews. So why would we with reviews, right? We only want to solicit those from people that like us. QR codes, there's so many QR code scams out there. So if you Google free QR code generator, and you're like, that looks legit, and you create it, and then 30 days later it doesn't work, and you put in your credit card numbers, and you see rent this QR code. So be careful about that. QR code monkey is the one we use. It is free. If you just Google QR code monkey, and they say in the little byline, will always be free. We've been using those for years for customers. That one truly is free. Before you go to the printer for the final print, test it. And we had those, thousands of cards produced, and they didn't test it, and whatever, so test those before you put ink on paper. But, QR codes are a great way to get that done.
On the surveys, you said that, it was gonna be a different one for each department, correct?
Yes.
So that you could map it under your profile, your sub-profile.
Yes, every profile, so like this is this Ford Lincoln store, that's their service GBP. And so that would get that link, that unique link just for that service. And then their body shop will have another unique link. Every page will have its own grab review form. And if you get confused, you get the links on, just click on them and you'll see, where did it take? Oh, that's the body shop link. And again, those will pop the stars right up in front of you to make it that much easier. So this is an example on the sales side. I think salespeople have figured out that if they get reviews with their names in it, that people often come in and ask for them by name, right? But I don't think it should be anything different from on the service side. It may not necessarily be name-based, but getting those reviews, I think translating that to the service department, the body shop department, and saying, look, as we drive reviews and we get positive accolades, and we not only rank better in search, but people read these and they want to do business with people that have had a good experience, right? So that's part of that, not just the ranking. It's showing that we're helping them do a great job. All right, so a ton of information. Let's recap. We want to build, claim profiles for service, body shop, and parts. And why do I say claim versus build? How do I know? Do I need to claim it or build it? Yeah, I'll ask myself that question. You're right, some are already there. So there are phantom listings that may have been created before your time, maybe the OEMs, so Ford and GM have done a ton of that, unfortunately, where they are automatically populating service, Google My Business pages for service, parts and body shop, right? They're doing it through reputation.com. And so if you want to see if you have one, and you're a Ford store, for this example, get on Google Maps and search for your store and zoom, and then we have a search query. Kill that search query so it's not searching for anything. And then in Maps, just zoom until you can't hit the plus sign anymore, and then just look around. And that's how you'll see those phantoms. They'll pop up. You'll see those. Claim those. You don't want to create duplicates. So if there's a service, if there's this little orphan service page for your Ford store, claim it, and then build that one up, versus starting a new one and then going through the process of Google merging. And if you have duplicates, if you've already created one, you're like, George, I got another Ford service, and I've deleted it a number of times. It keeps repopulating. You have to contact Ford or GM. They have similar programs, but Ford's is probably more prevalent. And you have to say, turn off my auto update, turn off my automatic Google Business profile, and they'll get with Reputation to turn that off. Otherwise, every time you delete it the next morning, it's right back live again, right? So you got to make sure they sent out a letter 2 Februaries ago telling dealers about this. I think most dealers ignored it. Some opted out and said, don't touch my profile. I think like 100 of those still got messed with. So we had damage control last year on that, but it's check and make sure they're clean. Yes, sir.
George, I bought a store, and 6 months into it, the old store that I had 4 Google ratings. About 6 months in, they populated all the old dealerships' reviews into mine.
Yeah.
And I've been fighting for over a year back and forth with Google. I can't get them out of there. Do you have any suggestions for me?
Yeah, so the question is, he bought a store, they had a bad reputation, maybe a bunch of 4-star reviews. He set up a new profile, was trying to get rid of those, and they merged those as duplicates. So for the most part, the answer would be Google's not going to allow you to get rid of those reviews. And if you buy a store that has not a lot of goodwill, not a lot of digital goodwill, it becomes a challenge because you do have to pour a lot. If they have thousands of reviews and you're low star rating, you got to do a lot of work to influence that. A few years ago, I think it was easier to say, close business. You don't ever want to close a business on Google Business Profile because it'll always say closed. So you typically want to say remove or something. I don't know, Kevin, if there's a way to. They're gonna say that's the same location, that's the same business, and so as you're buying a dealership, that factors into that, knowing that hey, we may not be able to get rid of that. If they didn't have it for service, body shop, and parts, you could still start those fresh and have those be powerhouses. There may be other ways you could go through and try to sort through some of those and see if any of them have hate speech, any of them are personal, any of them are there's ones you can get Google to remove. There might be some you can skim off, but I wouldn't have my hopes super high. I can always dive into that and look at those examples. So build or claim those profiles or service body shop and parts. Optimize your categories for each. Yes, Paul?
George, if it's the new name for the business, but the same address, you can't kill off the old one and start the new one?
The question is, if it's a new name and they bought the dealership and renamed it, can they get rid of them? No. It would require, I think, you might be able to do it sideways through an address change during the name change, because then they wouldn't necessarily get that signal, but they see that, they see Ford dealer, they see their address, they, I don't know that I've seen it as often.
We changed the name of the store. Like I said, it was, the first 6 months was only our reviews. And about 6 months in, boom, Google stuffed all these other reviews in.
And I don't know if I've seen that. I mean, usually it's from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure how you got rid of permission, but usually it's from the get-go. You inherit all those and you can't. We had a customer like 6 months ago have that. It was a big store and a big customer. So, I posted the question on multiple Google forums. We went deep on it. And everybody said, that's the programmer. So, but yes, if you get reviews that clearly are like hate speech or threats or what, you can get those reviewed, you can get those removed. Questions and answers are easy to get some of those removed if they're not questions, but bad reviews are tough. The best thing you do with a bad review is just add a bunch of new positive reviews, respond to it, of course. Yes?
Well, what is the point of creating a different page for a category? Like, who are you trying to compete against?
So the question is, why create a separate Google page with its own unique category? Who are we competing against? In those examples before, we're competing against big box retailers, Jiffy Lube, Pep Boys, or the local independent store, local independent dealer, who their primary category is auto repair.
So wouldn't the assumption be that if somebody was looking for like a Jeep service, that they would be adding Jeep within their search? So why would I want that? Why would I want like a Honda service to be pulled up for a Jeep?
So if you're a Honda store, you probably won't rank for Jeep service. I mean, you might. But
You know what I mean? It's
make
the usual search person that is going to be putting into Google is going to be putting a keyword for their search. So if they put in like Jeep brake repair, why would I ever want that to pop up?
Why would you want what to pop up?
Like brake repair. Why would I want that to pop up for a Honda if they were looking for like a Jeep or something? Wouldn't that just put me in there?
I mean, if I had a Honda service center, I'd say I take all makes, and I want to, so the question is, why do I want to win on generic brake repair or even off-make brake repair?
Right.
Because I want to take all service customers. I want to flip them to a Ford for the next, once they get sick of their Honda. I mean, the assumption is that we want to get people looking for non-branded category search. We want tire business. We want all the tire business, all the brake business we can get within reason. And so we want to show up for those. And if we have a Jeep store, CJR store, we'll never be able to show up for those fixed stops. And maybe even the branded. I mean, the example I showed before was Jeep brake repair, and a Jeep service center showed up, but not a Jeep store. So my argument is, if you have one Google Business Profile and you want it to optimize for sales and service and body shop, it won't happen. And you won't be able to show up. You'll show up for sales, you won't show up for service.
I guess my train of thought is like, I don't know if it'd be worthwhile to have all of these go to sales because you're more likely to win something from a sale of a car versus the service.
So the question is on reviews. Where do you want those reviews to go? You definitely want your service reviews to go to your service Google Business Profile because you want those juicy keywords. We love, our Jeep Wrangler just got new brakes. These guys are great. All those juicy fixed ops keywords. We want those reviews in the same Google Business Profile that has the category auto repair. So that completes that kind of knowledge, and Google shows that up, right? Versus our sales side, we want those sales side to talk about purchases, leases, right? We don't want fixed op for reviews on our sales side. Because then Google starts showing our sales listing for people searching for service some of the time, most of the time, right? We want it super delineated. We want Google to know exactly. And this listing is all about service, all about any kind of service, and this one's not. This one's all about collision and body shop. And for the same reason the big boxes do, right? Walmart would never show up for pharmacy ever if it was their last category pharmacy. It's just not. They're competing against Walgreens, and their primary is pharmacy. Maybe their second one. And all their reviews are all about, hey, I went to the pharmacy. And I mean, some of those justification can be on bad things. Like we've had people rank and instead I took my car in for brakes, these guys, whatever, something bad, and they ranked for that. They ranked for a bad review, but it had a keyword in it. Oh well. It just shows that keywords are indexed. Does that make sense?
If you were to switch, so I was just checking on our store, and we primarily send all of our reviews to, I guess, our sales business side. And so I was just saying with our internal marketing guy, if we were to switch that over and then now focus on the service side, where we only have 50 reviews, but we have like 2,000 on our sales side. If we switch that over, do the ones that are keyworded for service in our sales move over to that other profile, or are they stuck
Always
in there? So we start fresh essentially.
Exactly right.
Okay.
You start fresh. When you start a new one, it's not going to know, the service ones. It'd be great if it did to bring them over. But when you set up that service, you don't want to just switch the floodgates while your sales reviews go over there, because that's not going to effectively educate. Yeah, those have got to be ROs. Those got to be service type reviews that connect these.
Two different profiles for 767.
Yes, two different, and then separate for body shop, separate profile for parts.
Two different, completely different profile.
Completely different profile. If you're used car building, we're not talking about used car building.
Like the address of the business is gonna be the same.
Yes, so that's okay. If the, except for used cars. So these are Google's rules, right? If you look at Google's best practices, they show examples of car dealers doing this. And if your service and parts are in the same address as sales, as long as you have separate signage, they're okay with that. Now, if you add used vehicles, you can create one tomorrow. You can create a used car Google business profile for the same address as your dealership. It would last about 2 to 3 months, and Google would mark it a duplicate and merge it in, right? However, if your used vehicle shop is a separate address with a separate mailbox, and you can have a postcard mailed there for your verification, you can have a, and it's not today's topic, but you can have a wildly optimized used car page that will rank for used car near me, used car dealer, but you have to have a separate mailing address. Again, I don't mean to confuse it with that, but that's a separate profit center.
A and B.
A and B?
Yeah, like the same address, and you can.
Not for a used car. A used car has to have a completely different mailing address, or Google will merge it. That's their rules. They just don't. Used cars is not considered its own profit center within the address.
If we separate for service, you have to have 20 reviews and 20 picks, is that correct?
20 owner photos. But yeah, before you really start to show up, right? And you won't get those. It might take you a month. It might take you a month to get those 20 reviews. The 20 owner photos you can upload yourself. And honestly, owner photos, there's 2 kinds of photos on Google Business Profile. There's customer photos, the customers upload, great. There's owner photos, and it may not always be this way, but owner photos are a known ranking signal, right? SEO people that test this add owner photos, and we see it ourselves as well. As you add photos, your searches, views, your appearance increases in Google search, so why not, right? Don't do it all at once, maybe 5 a week, 10 a month. Put that into your process for all of them, for your sales service, add owner photos on a regular basis. It just shows Google I'm paying attention to it, I'm adding content, and then it's a ranking. Oh, okay.
Hey, George.
Yes.
In this gentleman's case over here, where he's having no luck taking care of the old reviews, as part of his content creation strategy, wouldn't building in the fact that it's under new ownership as of a certain date, wouldn't that help kind of game that situation?
I like that, yeah. And in fact, I might reply to every negative review in the past when those reappear. Say, hey, new ownership, we're so sorry about that. Those guys,
Well, no, yeah, I can go back and find those and then do that.
It won't change the average, but at least for the people reading it. But yeah, I mean, it ends up being a challenge just to generate those additional reviews, but it's the job at hand. Yes.
So the separate pages in Google's propensity to list hours for business
Yes.
based on sales. Can you get service hours to post by having separate service
Yes.
pages?
Great question.
That's
That's a
our big
planted question.
You
I
change
forgot
the
that, you're
hours
right,
and
yes.
keep going back to the sales.
Another huge benefit, and I should have had a whole slide on this. Another huge benefit is just that, is being able to have separate hours for service, body shop, and parts and sales, right? And when Google nests those, so once you build your service department, this is a common question. Hey, George, I built my service department profile, my body shop, but they're not nesting like your screens. Your screens show them all tucked in like Walmart have theirs. Once you get those 20 reviews, those 20 owner photos, they'll automatically nest them. You can also open a ticket, and that may make it go a little faster. But once they nest those departments, then when you click on hours, it'll actually cascade and show like sales these hours, service these hours. I mean, it makes it wonderful.
So
Yes.
if they search for the dealership, they'll have listings for each department.
Maybe. I mean, I couldn't tell you. I mean, it should. I mean, so yeah. So if Sarah, Jake Sweeney Chevrolet, she's got service body shop parts. If you search for Jake Sweeney Chevrolet, you probably would get. If all those had good content on it, you probably would see all those in there. I mean, you know, you want to click on the right one to get the hours, but you could click on the wrong one and it would show you the hours for all of them. You could click on the body shop, it would still show you, as long as it was nested in that main listing, it would show you all those hours. Yes?
Just to clarify, you mentioned something about signage being required for a certain, is that for service and parts?
Yes. They may not require, so the question, you know, do you have to have a signage all the time? You know, usually you won't have to, but if they hassle you, or you have a hard time getting it up, or you create a service or a parts and they mark it as a duplicate, then you open a ticket with Google. And honestly, we've had customers where Google gets on the phone, they say, we're going to FaceTime with you, we need you to go walk around the dealership. You do, and they say, show us where it says part. You show the counter, you show, all right, we're good. Service, they're just, it's goofy, but I mean, those are the exercises.
So you're talking about the photograph on the actual business page has to say parts or service?
Only if they ask you to jump to that hoop. Only if they ask you.
So if I have a picture of the outside of the entire store and that's my main page.
Right.
And then I create a service page and a parts page, I can still use that same photograph?
But you may not want to.
Right.
You may not. You may want to make it look like, you know, the spit shine parts department, this guy ready, and just racks of stuff behind him, where, you know, logo, you know, maybe a branded logo. I mean, you can make a nice parts kind of header page. I would. Nice body shop, a nice, you know, signature page for your cover page of your Google profile. Yes.
So you said about the addresses. Does Google also flag that for like parts department, service department, because they are under one
They don't
building?
mind. They do not mind.
Okay,
Because they
so
have a
it's just-
counter. Yeah.
Okay.
You can use the same address for everything except for used cars.
Used cars and service cars. We want to advertise for them separately.
Do you sell new cars?
Not new cars, used cars.
Perfect. And then all you'll have is a used car Google Business Profile. Then you'll have one for service.
Okay.
And your primary category will be used cars, used car dealer, followed by car dealer, followed by maybe car leasing. And that's your used car store may only have your used car profile may only have 3 or 4 categories. We don't want to just stuff in extra categories that aren't relevant. You know, here's the business system. And our service will have all those other, you know, air conditioning, transmission, brakes. There's zillions of categories for automotive service. Yes. Please stick around. I got nowhere to go other than Gillies, and glad to answer any and all questions.
Thank you.
Right. Should I name it body shop or auto body shop?
Good question. So, should you name a body shop or auto? You know, if it were me, I probably would name it body shop and collision center until I got in trouble for it. Just because, even though you're not supposed to be able to keyword stuff the name, and don't do this, don't keyword stuff the name of your dealership. But if you named your dealership George's Used Cars selling Accord, Camry, you know, whatever, unfortunately it works. But if you get flagged, you're suspended for 2 to 4 weeks, and you're out of business on Google, right? So don't do that. If you have a competitor doing that, turn them in, flag them, because you're not allowed to. It has to be your business name on there, right? You can't keyword stuff. But no one's gonna, you know, Ian Collision Centers are pretty innocent, and I just think that further helps us. Some people complain about having their name a geographic area, like Middletown Ford. God, I wish I had named it Nenni Ford, and then my cost per click for my brand would be cheaper. Having a geo in your dealership name helps you on a Google Business Profile, right? Because now you're just showing up in Chattanooga, any automotive related, relatively, right?
So you could say body and collision center?
Yes. Body shop, collision center, yes. But you wouldn't want to say good for dings, good for dents, good for, you know, just. But turn in competitors that do that. And also for people who live in big major metros, look for parasitic Google Business Profiles that may be sitting around your dealership. And I mean, in New York City, this is a common thing for you know, I remember a Honda dealership would constantly have, like, if you'd zoom on their Honda store, you'd see this Accord for sale, Camry for sale, all these little parasitic fake Google Business Profiles, just trying to siphon and get leads that they would then sell to dealers, right? So you got to flag those, and what's it called? There's a form in the book it talks about that redressal, really $5 word for like reporting them for being fraudulent or whatever. But you can report people for fake profiles. Probably is not happening in any town in the USA, but big major metros somewhere. What else? Great questions. I apologize, I forgot about the hours. Yeah, the hours are one of the primary benefits as well. So I'll fix that for Saturday. I can't fix my slide, but I'll leave it in. Yes, sir.
You mentioned categories and categories to name and things like that being important for ranking. Is there any other things that we should focus on, like products or services? You mentioned those before as well.
Yeah, so good question. What else is a ranker besides? So we talked about reviews and owner photos, categories for sure. So I don't have screens for this, but as you create your categories, after you create your categories, once you choose auto repair, it used to be here. Where is it? There's one of these called services. It's now just moved. It still says services. Go in there, and based on the category you choose, it will show auto repair, and then you got to give it a few days once you set your new thing up, because they can go spider your site and then come back with a bunch of suggested keywords, and you can go through there and you can edit those. Sometimes they'll grab pieces of text from your website that are incomplete, so you'll have to kind of type, fix it. Some you'll just trash can. That's not you. Like they'll suggest like sales keywords or sales services for fixed. So that's a good one on services. Google Posts, people. I think Google Posts are important. People have said they're kind of a mild ranking factor. I just wouldn't do any more than 2 Google Posts at a time. So everybody know what Google Posts are. They're like those little display ads we show at the bottom of our Google Business Profile. There's only 2 that show, and so if you have an agency charging you for doing 10 of them, no one ever scrolls past the first 2, right? So I would just do 2. I would do one that's evergreen, meaning one that I'm going to have be on there for 6 months. I'm going to put keywords in there around my fixed operations because sometimes those justifications, on a rare case, you'll see a Google post get a justification. That means Google's looking at them on some occasions, right? And so I'll do a Google post that's evergreen that has lots of keywords in it, and I'm going to let it sit and marinate. And then I'll do my other Google post for whatever the offer is this month or next month, that sort of thing. Products, Google Products is important, but on the sales side, Google Products is replaced with Cars for Sale. You guys probably are aware of that. On your sales side, you can see inventory listed on your Google Business Profile. It's called Cars for Sale. It's almost free. I mean, most providers charge $100 or so per month. Google does it through a clearinghouse company that charges all the other companies $75. So there's a real cost involved. I like that Cars for Sale. I think it looks nice. So that replaces products. In terms of, I don't know what I'm saying. I must be saying Siri. On the service side, yes, you could do products for that. And we see people build those out. I just don't have any data to say that for sure that would happen. It doesn't take you much time, so I probably would. If it were my store, I would build out service product pages. Again, that's all outlined in the book. You guys can figure it out yourself as well. You just kind of fill in the blanks. I would do those. Those would be evergreen as well. I wouldn't work myself to death there. Yes, sir?
No, just what book I can't read. You see the book.
A Car Dealer's Guide to Google Business Profile. The second edition just came out. I have it shipped directly here. So I've got a few. I'll let Suzanne decide who asked the most questions, and maybe they can. And then I've got some other random books here.
Who asked how Google support? If we want to know this is legal, this is done, this is okay, this is done. Who we have to ask? Who we contact in Google?
There's really no real place for Google to check for those, but there's some great online forums. Suzanne, you think we'll remember some of these? So Blue Sky, if you Google Blue Sky, Joy Hawkins is a big SEO expert out of Canada. She has it's called a local search forum. For anybody who geeks out on SEO and loves this kind of information, just subscribe to it. You get a weekly newsletter with like the top Google Business Profile troubleshooting challenges, whatever. It's not too much to go through. And you can post a question up there as well if you want to see what. I'm sorry, you have to go ahead, see what. You can open tickets with Google, but the results are. Google doesn't want to deal directly with customers, and so that's okay. But I think when you have clear issues, you can escalate those tickets. And then if you have things you're just trying to figure out, those forums are great. I mean, I post questions on those forums to try to get answers.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to build a separate page for Google.
They're recording. Yeah, you're on record.
I can build a second page for service.
Yes.
It links to my service page on my website.
Yes.
I need to have extra or rewrite my service page, which might be an OEM platform page.
Yes.
And then I have sub-pages under that for service specials, breaks, whatever it might be, next time, whatever. So
I wouldn't worry about those. Those are good to stay intact. You're just looking for the text. On that landing page, just some good text when Google goes and spiders that raw page. If you have other pages off that, that's fine. I don't know if they're going to go that deep, but it's going to be on your service page.
okay.
But you
so
said
a lot
what?
of the OEMs have templates,
Yes.
right? So how much do you put on that? I mean, you don't want to overrun the OEM's page,
Right.
right? So how much?
Well, they write it for you, I think, to rewrite it. I mean, most dealers are rewriting. If you're paying for SEO, they're rewriting all your canned pages, all your canned pages from your OEM website.
Right.
And so, you know, there may be brand compliancy things where you have to have that Mopar logo on there. I'm just talking about the paragraphs of text. Just throwing those out, rewriting them. And you don't have to be an SEO expert to rewrite them. Just if you have decent grammar, you just rewrite it and just talk about, you know, local area. You know, if you're in town for a Bengals game or you're eating Skyline chili, be sure, you know, or, you know, those are goofy examples. But I've heard SEO experts say that if you could read your service page text and you could substitute any other dealer's name for that and it still works, it's not good. That text should only work for you. It should only speak to the history and the background of the dealership. But honestly, if it's just original and Google can't see it as duplicate, then I think you check the box. You know, I mean, yes, sir.
We've had a problem with Google suggesting edits to our page,
Okay.
and then just automatically putting them through.
What type?
Is there any things like changing categories, changing services, deleting services, things like that? So, is there any way to stop that from happening?
So give me an example, like categories would be pretty dramatic. I haven't seen,
Yeah.
Usually it's like phone numbers,
Yeah,
or business name.
Yeah, that's true. Addresses, phone
Okay.
numbers, that sort of thing. It seems like it's happening more and more. Would it be someone suggesting an edit on that page, or is it?
It could be. So if things change in your Google Business Profile and you're not sure why, the first place to look is for all the logins. Make sure you know every single login, who it is, and if you don't, just wound it and just take it off for a day and just see if the phone rings, right? And if it doesn't ring, then they must not have needed access. And you also want to be careful there's not automatic updaters out there. I know Dealer Teamwork has one that sometimes we bump our heads into, where it's an automatic updater where they say, hey, look, we'll make life easy for you. You don't have to enter all the data in the back end, all that stuff George shows you. Just use our little module, and you can just update your categories, your name, all that stuff, and then we go up there and update Google. I think those things create more problems than they solve. I mean, the work with Google Business Profile is pretty lightweight working. We don't need to create another module that's doing like an automatic update, because then you go to update something on Google and that thing overwrites it, and you go, oh God, turn off that auto updater. You know, it's just a lot of work for nothing. So make sure there's no auto updaters. I guess in theory it could be a competitor. The other thing I talked about before we went live was the NAP, the NAP, right? So if suddenly if my phone number is changing or my address is changing or things like that, I may have another citation out there that is fouling this up, right? So we had a Dodge dealer, CJR dealer, and their service department would not let you choose auto repair. And literally, I've never had this happen, but every time you change it and you hit enter, it would go auto repair and then it'd go, and go Dodge dealer. And that was like a week. And I put that on forums, and I was like, I'm lost. And then I went back to citations, and I said, was this always the service repair? Oh no, 10 years ago this was the showroom. Sure enough, went out on all the citations. It was tons of citations that thought that was still the showroom. Fixed it, changed those citations a month later, auto repair. Now that's, you know, because Google takes all those other citations. That's why I started off talking about it, because it is important, right? It's not just Google's directory. There's other directories out there that can foul you up. Apple, Facebook, Bing, not so much, but Apple and Facebook, those got to be perfect. And if they get enough of those other signals, Google's like, sorry, this is not auto repair. This is a show. Would let you change it.
Should you build citations for your service center and your sales?
That's a good question. I don't know that I even have a good answer based on any research. I mean, I would at least look for it, but I doubt. I would doubt that it exists, and I would probably maybe caution against it, just because like Apple is a one profile world, Bing is a one profile world, Foursquare, Hot Frog. I mean, a lot of those are single profile worlds anyway. I mean, I don't think your Facebook page is a single profile, so I doubt that they would show up as a citation for service or body shop.
You probably mentioned, so just to be clear, I'm sorry, if it went over my head.
There you go.
So you have, obviously, we're sharing service, so you have the shares for profile. Am I making one login just for new, another login for user? Are these separate profiles for each part of the dealership?
Yeah, so your sales side, new and used combined, would be one profile. Then service would be a profile, parts would be a profile, and the body shop would be a profile.
So you're going to have separate reviews just for that part of the company. So
Yes.
we'll have, so you're gonna start off, we got 2,000 whatever for the main store. So now when we do this, we're gonna start off with smaller number of reviews, but it's gonna grow for service.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Should grow, I mean, it should grow exponentially for service because you have so many more transactions. But again, like having Podium, be able to fork those reviews and have those go to a service page, that's really important. And then that one-on-one engagement, probably building it into pay plans, you know, because that sometimes is required to make that happen. I think if you do a good job of demonstrating that, that can help the service managers, you know, bottom line in terms of driving a lot of business there by ranking, that can help that argument as well.
I guess parts would be the hardest one to get the reviews.
Yeah. Parts is tough. So I'll say this, I mean, I wouldn't spend much horsepower on parts initially. You know, I mean, if you leave this session, go and be excellent with service and body shop. Parts is just such a smaller, I mean, like we rarely see, and we've got a Mercedes dealer in Canada that does a ton of parts business to a lot of other stores that come and they do mail order or whatever, and their parts gets tons of activity. They drive reviews and put content. It's a kick in parts profile, but in most cases, people aren't doing that kind of business. They got most of their reviews, by the way, B2B. They just went to all the other dealerships and bought parts from them. I don't know, they offered them a set or whatever, but they went from like 5 to 80 in 2 months. You know, all 5 stars. So they gained a little bit, it sounds like. Yes, sir.
I just had an example. It wasn't too long ago, and on my Google site, the hours changed, like in the morning, and then at night they changed, and then the next day they changed, the next day they changed. And I guess the reason I bring this up is because eventually I started looking, and somehow somebody either hacked in as an administrator, or someone let them in, and that guy, it was a person's name, just kept changing the hours every day. And I don't know if he was trying to see how long he could get away with it, and then he's really gonna change something on the website, but I just kicked him out. But it might be a good example for everybody to watch who their admins are on their sites, because I have no idea how it got there.
That's like those Google Guides. I mean, if you mess around with your questions and answers, if you pose a question up on your profile, there's a Google Guide just on the job, just answering it. I mean, people have time on their hands to do those kind of things. But yeah, if those are changing a lot, I would think I would check those logins, and not just Google Business Profile, Google Analytics, same way. Make sure you know who has admin, who all has login processing rights to those.
Google doesn't send notification for a matter like this if they change anything in the Google account.
Does Google have notification? I mean, Google notification is just inconsistent, so I just wouldn't count on it. They may sometimes say someone suggested a change or made some kind of change, but honestly, I would just get in there a couple times a month, maybe just look through it, see how things look. I wouldn't depend on their alert system.
We learned that if you don't own your own Google backend, we learned that if you don't own your Google backend, that someone may have reserved it years ago. Like 5, 6 years ago, several dealers in East Texas, someone went and reserved all of their Google listings, and none of us could change it. It took us months and months and years to change it.
You have to claim it.
Because really, you just go there and you say, claim this listing, and it sends an email to them.
It required a phone call to the registered number or a mail. You know, they'll mail you a card with a code or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're not sitting there getting the mail that comes in,
yeah,
you never get the code.
It's the tiniest little flimsy postcard.
2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and then you never get the code. And then the person that like claimed the listing has the email, has the phone number, whether it's a Google number or not. And it was just a big deal for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah. So if that happens in the future, use the phone verification, do it late in the evening or whatever, and then just insert some commas. A comma is a 4-second pause. So you put in your phone number, 2 or 3 commas, drop to the extension. And my extension is 123 pound. So comma, 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 123 pound. After, and put that in as your phone number. Then say verify, phone rings, they give you a code, you put it in, it's yours. That way you avoid that postcard, then change your number back, and then you're good.
Page is different than profile, right?
No, page is a profile. I mean, it depends on what you call it. Yeah, that little box, that little, you know, that's a profile.
I got a little confused. I asked this question 3 times, but this guy got a little confused.
English is like his third language.
Okay, fine.
Better than me.
He's a friend.
So on used car lot, and then the service department, mechanic and collision. Okay, So you do two separate pages like Facebook or no, two
Not
separate profile?
Google Business Profiles, yes.
Google Business
Separate
Profiles.
Google Business Profiles. One
The address I gotta make a problem.
No, not a problem.
Can I get one of those tools?
Yes. Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna wind up here, and then I'll take whatever questions afterwards.
We
Till
share.
5:08. Thank you guys a ton
We
for
share.
staying,
We share.
and, I love your comments. Thank you, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I got folks up here, I didn't intend